Here are the top stories for today, January 13, 2021. Poor LGUs can still purchase vaccines for their constituents with the help of the national government. The Philippine Red Cross rolled out its COVID-19 testing via saliva. The health department says it needs ample time to see if traslacion caused a surge on COVID-19 cases. And the World Health Organization targets a worldwide vaccination by next month. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Local government units with meager funds will still be able to procure COVID-19 vaccine with the help of the national government. This came after several provinces and cities have already allocated funds for the said vaccines. The details from Janice Cave.
The national government would shoulder the costs of procuring COVID-19 vaccines for local government units with meager funds.
Ang national government nga po, ang NTF, handa na siya mismo ang bumili para sa lahat. Pero dahil ang mga LGUs, may mga pondo naman sila at meron silang kakayahan at ninanais nila talagang tulungan ng national government, hindi po natin minasama yun, no? At tinanggap natin yung kanilang mga offer na tumulong.
Roque said the first 50,000 of the 25 million doses of China's Sinovac would all go to the health workers, and the next in line would be the senior citizens, indigent citizens, and uniformed personnel. Aside from Sinovac, the government has also signed deals for vaccines developed by the Serum Institute of India and British pharmaceutical AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Gamaleya Institute. Meanwhile, Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III said the close to 75 billion pesos budget for COVID-19 vaccine acquisition is enough to inoculate the majority of Filipinos that are qualified for the shot. Dominguez said part of the financing amounting to 62.5 billion pesos will come from the Asian Development Bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the World Bank. Earlier, Budget and Management Secretary Wendell Avisado said 25 billion pesos has been identified as a standby fund for vaccine procurement under the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, while 70 billion pesos has been allocated as an unprogrammed fund under this year's national budget for vaccine acquisition. He said the unprogrammed fund can be accessed through bilateral, multilateral, domestic, or foreign borrowings. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
The Philippine Red Cross launched its saliva RT-PCR pilot testing, which, according to Senator Richard Gordon, is a game changer in COVID-19 testing and is already being used in other countries such as the United States and Japan. Gordon said only 1 milliliter of saliva is needed for the test. It is not invasive, less expensive, faster, and health workers are not required to wear their PPEs. It can also be done at home. PRC said it has partnered with 15 DOH hospitals in Metro Manila for the pilot saliva testing that will be done on some 1,000 healthcare workers in the country. The city government of Lapu-Lapu is eyeing a 100 million peso budget to purchase COVID-19 vaccines. Mayor Junard Chan said frontliners, drivers, and vendors will be on the top of the priority list for inoculation. Chan said the amount will be in addition to the national government's allocation for each local government unit in the country. In Samal, Bataan, Mayor Aida Macalinaw admitted they have no budget for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines because they have funded their primary healthcare project. These provides free medicine for each resident amounting to 2,000 pesos per year. Macalinaw is appealing for additional budget from the national government for the purchase of the vaccines. House political leaders backed the resolution filed by Speaker Lord Alan Velasco, which seeks to amend the restrictive economic provisions in the 1987 Constitution. The measure seeks to insert the phrase "unless otherwise provided by law" to several sections of the Constitution which restrict foreign ownership of land, natural resources, public utilities, educational institutions, media, and advertising. Garabin, who chairs the House Committee on Constitutional Amendments, assured that the proposed amendments will be limited to the economic provisions in light of the damaging effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Still to come, the Health Department said it needs ample time to determine if traslacion caused the spike in the number of COVID-19 cases. And the National Bureau of Investigation maintains it was able to recover fluid from the autopsy body of Christine Dacera. More on this when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa matinding laban natin sa Coronavirus Disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita, basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Berjera said more time is needed to conclude if the traslacion 2021 caused the recent surge of COVID-19 cases. Berjera said this has to be interpreted cautiously. She said that while there is a growth in a number of cases in the National Capital Region or NCR, it is still in a stable state.
We have seen that for these past 4 days, nakita natin na tumataas yung kaso natin compared to the 7-day moving average natin na meron tayo during the holiday period. And this has to be interpreted cautiously kasi nga, alam natin during the holiday period, medyo bumaba po ang laboratory outputs by as much as 30%. As to the January 9 celebration, yung feast ng Jesus of Nazarene, as we always say, we count 14 days, because this is the incubation period of the virus. So after 14 days or maybe 2 to 3 weeks, tsaka po natin makikita kung sakaling makakaapekto ito dito sa mga kasong nakikita natin sa ngayon.
There will be no street parties and parades for this year's Santo Niño Fiesta in Manila. Selling and drinking of alcohol is also prohibited during the festivity. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso issued stringent guidelines as precautionary measures against the COVID-19 pandemic. Tondo and Pandacan are set to celebrate the feast day of Santo Niño this weekend, January 16 to 17. Santo Niño Fiesta in Tondo is known for its long Mardi Gras or street dancing known as Lakbayao, which usually starts early morning until late in the evening. It is also known for its street parties, public games, and stage presentations. Dumagoso said everyone should learn to adapt to the new normal while living normally. The city government of Pagadian has canceled all crowd drawing activities in the forthcoming Pasalamat Festival 2021 as a precautionary measure against the spread of COVID-19. The Pasalamat Festival is celebrated every third Sunday of January to honor its patron saint, the Holy Child Jesus or Santo Niño. The canceled popular events include street dance and ritual competition, regatta, motocross, sinulog dance, and the nightly variety shows. Mayor Samuel Co said that these activities were canceled as they could not be complacent even though there is a decline in the cases of COVID-19 there. The local diocese has set 3 schedules for the Novena Masses to lessen the number of devotees and ensure compliance with health protocols inside the church. Bishop Ronald Lunas, meanwhile, encouraged the public to continue their devotion despite the limited number of people allowed entry inside the churches. Forensic experts have recovered urine from the remains of flight attendant Christine Angelica Dacera, raising hopes that it would help uncover the circumstances behind her death. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said the NBI was able to extract about 100 milliliters of urine from the subject's body. He said the results of the laboratory examination may come out in a few days. Dacera was found dead in her hotel room in Makati City around noon on January 1 after a private New Year's Eve party with her friends. Her remains were embalmed as per COVID-19 health standards after testing at the Makati Medical Center. The initial autopsy conducted on Dacera has ruled out the cause of her death as ruptured aortic aneurysm. The Makati City Police and PNP Chief Debold Sinas earlier declared the case as a rape slay. Private companies in Metro Manila have until the end of this week to submit a compliance report on the grant of the 13th month pay to their employees. In an advisory released on Tuesday, the Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, reminded employers to file the report online on or before January 15. Under Presidential Decree 851, all employers are mandated to pay the 13th month pay on or before December 24 of every year. The 13th month pay required by law shall not be less than 1/12 of the total basic salary earned by an employee within a calendar year. Up next, the World Health Organization targets a worldwide vaccination by next month. And Twitter loses its billions of shares after the Trump ban. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The head of the World Health Organization called for a collective commitment toward coronavirus vaccination in all countries, with vaccines expected to be rolled out by February. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus on Monday expects that within the next 100 days, vaccinations for health workers and those at high risk in all countries are underway. He said leaders must unite to create the greatest mass mobilization in history for equitable vaccination. WHO Senior Advisor Dr. Bruce Aylward said over 40 countries have begun vaccinating against COVID-19, but all of these were in high-income or middle-income countries so far. He said the WHO is working to accelerate the vaccines rollout through the COVAX facility so that vaccination may start in other countries in February. The Philippines is willing to tie up with neighboring countries to create international travel bubbles that would allow for travel and tourism amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat said these international travel bubbles would demand strict enforcement of health and safety protocols. With no end yet in sight for the pandemic, Puyat said the DOT would continue to focus on local travelers to reboot tourism for 2021. She said the DOT will work on the continued development of guidelines for the operation of tourism enterprises and activities. For local destinations reopened by the respective local government units to tourists, she said the DOT will assist through the standardization of travel protocols and harmonizing requirements. From January to December 2020, the Philippines only received 1.3 million foreign visitors, a decline of 83.9% from the over 8 million arrivals in the same period of 2019. In our 4 news, Twitter's stock price was down as much as 12% on Monday after outgoing U.S. President Donald Trump was permanently banned from the platform. The U.S.-based social networking service saw its stock price open down at $47.16 on Monday, then fell to as low as $45 to $15. The decline erased $5 billion from Twitter's market capitalization before the stock price later recovered to $49 per share. The sudden decline came after Twitter on Monday permanently banned Trump's account, which had around 89 million followers. This after 2 months of Trump's claims of voter fraud and election theft in the November 3 U.S. presidential election and his supporters storming the Capitol building. Social networking giant Facebook also suspended Trump's account until January 20, as CEO Mark Zuckerberg argued he intended to use his account to undermine a peaceful transition of power. And in sports, the Federación Internacional de Voleibol, or FIVB, has called on the Philippine Olympic Committee, or POC, to hold an election for what would look like a new national sports association for volleyball. POC President Abraham Tolentino said the election is needed to take place before the FIVB convenes for its General Assembly. With the General Assembly set for next month, the Volleyball NSA needs to have its set of officers by the end of January. The old Philippine Volleyball Federation, or PVF, has been insisting that it's still being recognized by the FIVB despite the POC stripping them of their status as the official NSA for volleyball. On the other hand, the Larong Volleyball sa Pilipinas, or LVP, is the one handling the national team duties. However, the POC said neither the Philippine Volleyball Federation nor the LVPI is being recognized by the Federación Internacional de Voleibol right now. A magnitude 5.1 earthquake shook Ilocos Norte Tuesday night. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOG, said the tectonic quake struck 54 kilometers northwest of Burgos town at 9:38 p.m. with a depth of 16 kilometers. Intensity 2 was reported in Burgos. PHIVOG said aftershocks are possible while damage is not expected from the quake. Continuous rains due to a low-pressure area brought flash floods to parts of Camiguin and Lanao del Norte on Tuesday. Captain Arnold Gabucayan, Municipal Police Chief of Mambahaw, Camiguin, said water from canals and creeks flooded at least 5 villages, with Barangay Poblacion as one of the hardest hit. 95 residents were forced to seek shelter at the Mambahaw Evacuation Center shortly after noontime. No damage has been reported. A team from the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office gave out food packs and bedding materials to the evacuees. Meanwhile, several residents in Maigo Town, Lanao del Norte, posted photos and videos of submerged houses on Facebook. The Lanao del Norte Electric Cooperative said the heavy rain caused a power outage in some areas of the province. Tuesday's flooding was the second incident in the province this week. The first occurred in January 11 in Tubod Town, where 3 barangays were affected, prompting residents to evacuate. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Poor LGUs can still purchase vaccines for their constituents with the help of the national government. The Philippine Red Cross rolled out its COVID-19 testing via saliva. The health department says it needs ample time to see if traslacion caused the surge on COVID-19 cases. And the World Health Organization targets a worldwide vaccination by next month. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day to all.